Just to let you know, this meeting is being recorded and no live streaming from your phones, please. And if you you don't have to turn your phone off, but if you turn it on to silent or flight mode. And the material shown will be widely available on UnitedPeople.ie and Facebook and on Twitter later. What you will see and hear today is only some of the content within the full detailed report, and please do take time to share and make aware. My name is Alistair Smith. I'm the United People National Coordinator based here in Dublin. You can contact me anytime. I'll make an arrangement to meet you. And Jeff here is the founder of United People and he'll be presenting his report. And Damien is the legal side. He'll be going through how to make an appeal against CTEK, and he has a court case coming up against CTEK. We'd like to wish him the best of luck at that. Shall we begin? Yeah, Jeff.
Okay, cheers. First of all, I'd like to stress that what you're actually going to see here today is a summary of what's actually in the report. You can take a copy away with you when you're going, and if you wish to share also online, the PDF from 4 o'clock today will be available on the United People website, but it will also be, as Alistair said, available elsewhere on various locations and for free, so share it away. And if you do, we deeply appreciate it, because knowledge is power, and it's about time it was handed back to the people. Right, that's just the front cover of the report itself. Welcome, and as Alistair said, I won't repeat all that, but basically, here we go. First things first, what was the job? What was the process of JobPath? Most of you will know this, so I'll quickly scroll through it. There was economic downturn, property prices fell, people stopped spending. One thing or another, the bank bailout then came, loans pulled in at faster, larger rate, less cash flow between institutions. Then came the Memorandum of Understanding signed by Fianna Fáil and the Green Party. In that Memorandum of Understanding, there was a section for job activation. There was also the section for referring to Irish water as well, and a few other things there. Basically, it was the same thing to some respects. They wanted people to be forced into one process or another, and if you didn't agree, you were going to be penalised. Then after that was people started to question it, especially in regards to Irish water. It's an issue for another day, but briefly mention that nobody ever got a democratic vote on what the IMF forced on people, which was an outside institution bringing in legislative acts, etc., and forced on the Irish people. So, again, what was in referring to the JobPath procedure was actually spelled out also in the Memorandum of Understanding, and I'll quickly flick through this. Like I say, the detail is in the report. It was about money, movement, long-term employment, save money, strengthening activation measures. There was also monitoring measures in the IMF demands, which Fianna Fáil and Green Party signed up to. This was also backed up by the Troika later on. Now, another important section was, now this is their words, not ours, from the actual IMF report. The application of sanction mechanisms for beneficiaries not complying with job cert conditionality and recommendations for participation in labour market programmes set in such a way as to imply an effective loss of income without being perceived as excessively penalising, so that it could be credibly used wherever a lack of compliance is ascertained. In other words, they want an effective loss of income, but they don't want it being perceived too much as excessive. They're more worried about looks than they are about what they're actually doing to the actual people. I have down here in brackets myself, that is their own words, I have down here in brackets myself, proof or hearsay, because when we come back to active compliance, we'll show you that they're relying more on hearsay than actual proof during the appeals process. Next one. That's just proof of when it was signed, December the 10th or December the 3rd, 2010, and they're the individuals that were responsible for bringing this all in by signing on their dotted line. Now, what is JobPath? It is two companies that has been imported by the Irish government. Turas Nua is part Irish based and also working links that came over from England. CTEK was set up in the UK in 1993 as a company, and they then became registered in Ireland in, was it 2015? 2013. I stand corrected. And since then, they didn't really exist until a year before the tenureship document actually came out. And when it did, they got in there real quick. On their actual web page itself, that's their actual web page, they say JobPath is an approach to unemployment activation which caters mainly for people who are long-term unemployed. Now, if I'm going to stop there for a second, Regina Doherty in the last week or so actually stood up in the Dáil and said that the JobPath programme is for only the unemployed. I'll show you text in a few minutes from their tenureship document that actually shows that they're targeting the new employed. So what she actually said in the Dáil in the last week or two, to put it bluntly, is inaccurate. That could be said another way, she wasn't telling the truth. So, and because she said that in the Dáil, that's open to question. So moving on, by the way, if you have a look at that website itself, look at actual detail, or should I say lack of detail. It doesn't actually tell you what's involved in the JobPath process. It just actually says it's an approach to employment activation with caters for people who are long-term unemployed. It doesn't tell you what to do on a day-to-day basis or by an hour basis. And they expect you to accept that as the full description of what JobPath is. So JobPath was brought in by two companies, Seetec and Turas Nua. Now the Irish government knew that the process itself, the course itself, couldn't be done by one company alone around the country. So they imported two companies to do it, which is fair enough, that's their right. So JobPath, what is it? The official PR is on the website. Do read the detail or the lack of detail. You'll also notice down on the left-hand side section, there's a section here, URIs, find a job abroad. Now when you actually talk to CTEK staff or Turas Nua staff, we have come across constantly people that have inquired about that, and they get a blank answer. They don't help in any way, shape or form to actually get people get a job elsewhere outside the country. And as we've shown in a few minutes, for one simple reason, if you're not on a CTEK or Turas Nua course, they don't qualify for payments, they're losing money, so they need you there as long as possible. By the way, if any of you have any questions, if you could keep them till the end of either this section or till the very end of the whole thing, we'd appreciate it. If anybody wants to get a piece of paper and take notes, you're quite welcome to just grab one there. Now, here's a good one. Everybody knows the first rule of Fight Club. Most of you have seen the film. You don't talk about Fight Club. What's the second rule about JobPath? It's actually in the tenureship document. No publicity regarding this procurement competition. The award of a contract, the execution of the service contract is not permitted until the contracting authority has given written consent. In other words, nobody's allowed to talk about when the tenureship process came in. Nobody was allowed to talk about it without written consent from the minister or one of his underlings. It was like Fight Club, you just couldn't talk about it. There was no publicity, you couldn't put it in the media or mention it or anything like that. They wanted to keep quiet. And when something has to be kept quiet, you have to ask questions. Why? Next one. The first thing that we've noticed, and I've personally come across this myself in Drogheda County Louth, people are being called into a group session. Their first meeting with CTEK, whom they've never heard of before. And in that group session, sometimes, I won't say all the time, but sometimes they are told they are randomly selected. We can categorically state, and we'll prove it now in a few seconds, that you're not randomly selected. If you actually look up the tenureship tender document, which we will provide on the UnitedPeople website, I won't read all this text out to you, it's in the report, but it's on the website too when you eventually find it. I'll go back to that, sorry. You're going to be profiled along a number of characteristics. Age, gender, marital status, spouse, income, children, motivation, access to transport, education, literacy, etc., etc., etc. The list is long. They put you through a mathematical algorithm, and when you come out, you're given what's known as a PEX score. The PEX scores facilitate the segmentation of the client's database into bands. Currently, low, medium, or high are used. That's their words, that's not our words, that's in the tender document that brought in CTEK and Turas Nua. If anybody tells you that you're randomly selected to do this course with either of the companies, it's not exactly accurate. Next thing, the profiling. Client profiling was rolled out in departments, local and branch offices between 2012 and 13. New claimants are now profiled nationwide. Remember I was saying about Regina Doherty said in the Dáil? However, those that have been on the live register for some time have not passed through the PEC's profiling system. Now this was from the 10th document went out, so this is now a year or two old. So we can assume, we give them the good graces to assume that they've moved on a little bit from this. But the initial basis was that new claimants are new profiled. The LMD score is the earlier way of profiling. Like the PEC score, will be used to segment the live register client database into low, medium, high categories. Again, I repeat, you're not randomly selected at all. There is a system there that which selects you for Turas Nua or CTEK selection. I apologise if I'm flying through this, but we do have a lot of detail to get through, and I'll answer any questions later. Now, why are people shoved through this system as far as Turas Nua and CTEK are concerned? Show me the money. Successful tenders will be paid job sustainment fees for those clients whom they are able to secure and remain in full-time employment. This is the letter that goes out to everybody around the country. It's a standard letter, and one of the things we'll show straight away is that it's actually social welfare paper. Down the bottom here we've discovered, and I've deliberately blanked that out to preserve the rights of the person to privacy, but we've actually discovered that people have actually signed that from the companies themselves, the private companies. They're actually using social welfare paper and signing the actual social welfare documents from the private company. There's a question mark whether they should be doing that or not, but we leave that for another day. Up the top, the short version is that to give you the spiel again about Department of Social Protection, helping job seekers secure work, etc., etc. We are pleased to inform you that you have been allocated a personal employment advisor to avail these services. You are invited to attend. Further down, however, they say, as you know, all job seekers in receipt of a payment are required to avail of any opportunity to improve, etc., etc. And accordingly, any refusal or failure without good cause to attend this information session or subsequent partake in JobPath, that could be Turas Nua either, result in your job seeker payment being reduced. So up the top you're invited, down the bottom you have no choice. Again, the infamous later, the advice, there's very little advice there, they're just basically telling you to turn up. Job search supports, as we'll see soon later on, what supports. Work experience, educational training, and chances invited. Again, we'll cover some of these topics very, very shortly. Then there's an add-on to the social welfare agreement which we'll come to too. This is the sum of the packs that they give to people. When you walk in today, you'll see names on chairs. Other people who have attended the CTEK or Turas Nua group sessions have gotten something similar to this information pack. They found it sitting on their seats. And it is, what is contained in it is a lot of basic information. It's very scarce, and what we'll come to later, we'll show you one section in a second. The IT section is that there. This is your total IT section. I'll read it out. In accordance with the Data Protection Act 1985, is it? 1988, sorry, I need bigger glasses. And 2003, any information that is given to CTEK or obtained from them may be recorded on a computer database to assist record keeping and be used for analytical purposes. That is the total IT information they will give you at the group sessions. They don't tell you where they're storing their information, who's storing it, is it encrypted, how secure is it, where the servers are, etc. Yeah.
Who has access?
Who has actually access to it, thanks. Who has access to it and at what level. That's just your full information that they give you. You ask them any questions, really awkward questions, technical wise, if you know your stuff. Sorry, we'll have that conversation with you outside on a one-to-one. Why they won't allow that question to be answered in a group session, we are assuming that they don't some more information getting out to the wider public. We're going to provide that information. Please take your time to read the fully clear, detailed info about IT usage. Please note the detailed multi-step appeal processes they explain. If you wish to apply, that's your email address, and that's the main address there. Now, you'll notice there it says 15 Harcourt Street, Dublin 2. There is another CTEK address out there, but it's on the website, their website, but they don't go out of their way to let you know that you can also send your information or appeals or whatever to that address. We've come across it a number of times that when people have actually sent in their appeals, one of the companies turn around and says, sorry, we never got that information, what address did you send it to? We sent it to Harcourt Street. Oh no, sorry, it was meant to go to somewhere else. And in the meanwhile, while you're actually sending your information again, they slap you with a sanction, be it part sanction or full sanction. Please note the address at the bottom so you can send any correspondence. Now, after they've gone through that 15-20 minute speech group session, be it with Turas Nua or CTEK, they'll ask you to sign this. I confirm that I've had the participation requirements of JobPath programme explained to me. Would you know after reading the website or reading through a basic brochure what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, what courses they're going to put you on? If you're looking for that information, as you'll see in the report, and the copies of this are available, it's not there, the information is not there. They agree that CTEK can distribute my CV via email for the purpose of applying for and securing interviews and employment. In other words, your CV, your data, your personal info, they can send it out wherever they like, and as long as you sign on the dotted line. Now, they already have your personal information, and that's been passed on to the Department of Social Protection. However, as we'll show you in a few minutes, even the Department of Social Protection doing this might be questioned about legality. Anyway, we'll move on. Having had the main points of the following CTEK policies explained to me, I know how to find more information. They've explained equality, diversity, health and safety, grievance, complaints, which was the one email address and one postal address. How CTEK will store and use my personal information. Remember the section that was up here? And then they demand, while the person's actually having a 15 to 20 minute speech with you, they expect you to read that brochure and then at the same time sign it and hand it back up. Now, various people have actually tried to leave group sessions with that leaflet and they've been stopped. They haven't been allowed to bring it out of the building because they wanted to question what was in it, but they've been stopped. And they've been told, if you even bring it out, we'll get on to the Department of Social Protection, or in some cases, Department of Social Welfare words used, and you're giving us hassle, you've been negative, we're going to try and get you slapped with a sanction, or we'll see that your dollars you give us that information, you give it back. We have many statements. In the report, there's about 15 to 20 pages of victim statements, and you'll find that within it. So, participation requirements, CV, personal data, the who, permission, how they store, where are they stored, how will they use it, have all those main points been explained to you in that small little paragraph that was up there previously. I would actually say no. I think most of you would agree with me. There it is again, in accordance with the data protection, etc., etc. Has all that been explained in there? Absolutely not. Moving on. The legal aspects of signing. Once you sign that, you're legally bound to them. You have entered into a contract with them. As far as they're concerned, as far as the Department of Social Protection is concerned, you are in a contract with them. You have officially recognised their status to have a power over you to inflict wherever they wish to inflict, or if they are doing you any advantage at all, do that also. I have to be fair and say some people in through these courses, Seetec and Turas Nua, have gained benefit for it, and fair play to those that have gotten those benefits, and fair play even to those that have provided those benefits. So, in order to qualify normally for a social welfare payment, it used to be that 1, you had to be available for work, 2, be capable of work, 3, to be genuinely seeking full-time work. But now, because of CTEK and Turas Nua, there's a bonus. You have to be willing to dump part-time work, dump any jobs clubs that you've been previously in. leave CTEK schemes, even education, CE schemes, correct, or more. Now, I myself have been in education, third level education, doing marketing, and twice one of the companies has come to me and not asked, but demanded that I leave that education to do their course. I was doing marketing in Dundalk at the time. Other people have been on CE schemes and then been transferred over to CTEK. When they asked why, they were told that, well, that's just the way it is. If you don't like it, you'll lose your double payment. Other people that have been unemployed but want to apply for CE schemes but have got the letter previously from Seetec and Turas Nua to say that they must turn up, have been told, sorry, you're now struck off from applying from a CE scheme. CE schemes now around the country have been starved of participants. The other one there is Jobs Club. Around the country there is many jobs clubs. A lot of these jobs clubs are staffed by people that have been working them for years, not months, years. They're well experienced, in many cases they're well qualified. They're doing it for free to a certain extent because the people that are coming in are not being charged. They're getting paid to a certain extent of the state, one way or another, but as far as the public is concerned, they are doing it for free. Any advice and help is gained. The jobs clubs do what Seetec and Turas Nua are doing to a certain extent, to a great extent. They are finding the courses, they're finding the knowledge, they're helping with information, they're even helping with appeals processes that mightn't be related to unemployment, etc. They're helping in many other ways. But because Seetec and Turas Nua have been given a private contract by the state, those jobs clubs now are dying because people have been told they can no longer now go to those jobs clubs, they must leave them and go join the private company so that Seetec and Turas Nua can get their payments off the state. Next, digital signing. A lot of the offices around the country have actually copped on that people have started to object to a brochure on what's in it, and frankly what's not in it. So when you sign in now with some of the places, they actually get you to sign into a computer using this device. Now, anybody that's unemployed and is collecting the benefits will know it, if they go to the post office, they have to sign in there. Now, before they actually sign, you'll get the standard 3 conditions from the dole or social welfare that say 1, 2, 3, you must be available, you must be actively looking for work, etc. And then they get you to sign on the dotted line. Seetec and Turas Nua sometimes get you to sign that before you log into their computer systems. This is important for a simple reason. If they haven't given you the brochure to actually sign, by signing yourself into that, you've given your signature, you're again entering into a contract, you're officially recognising them by digital means, and they have you again. But they don't tell you this when they get you, they just tell you to sign into the computer using that device. Was before signing in, was the full, including legal rights, ramifications fully explained to everybody. By signing, you're recognising their authority, but logging in, you are now admitting you are a client. Refuse to sign in, they will actually try to sanction you. Ask for a letter confirmation by signing you are not contracting, they will threaten in some cases to sanction you. In other words, if you walk in and say, I don't wish to enter into a private company, I will do the full course, but I don't wish to sign into a private contract, they will issue threats in many cases. And it's been done, and we have the statements to back it up. If you ask for that letter, say that your confirmation that you're not entering into a private contract, good luck in that letter. You won't get it. Many people have asked for it, and many people have refused. I haven't come across one person yet in a year and a half of research that has actually got that letter who has asked for it. You will be classed as uncooperative by them, and this is one of the categories that they'll officially stick into before they sanction you. The other thing that they do now, which is very interesting, this one refers to CTEK. To log into the actual computer system, in this case it's a website called elvis.co.uk. Note the UK, by the way, we're going to come back to that. You will need to use your CTEK username and password. Don't know what it is. Your username is your learner number in lowercase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And your password will be your date of birth in this format. So they will give you your number and your password is your date of birth. Now, I'm an IT geek, And anybody that's into IT, like this gentleman is as well, will tell you that using the date of birth for a password is absolutely stupid. It wouldn't take much of a hacker. It wants to get to know you and did a bit of digging, even through your Facebook, social media, Twitter, whatever it is, to finally be able to work out what your date of birth is. If they know if the date of birth it has to go in as the password, good luck, it's not secure. To use that is just absolutely nuts. And I say that from my own IT experience. I've only had IT experience of 20, 30 years. That's alarm bells off when I see that first. It's just, I think it's crazy. Now, if you don't sign the contract one way or the other, CTEK or Turas Nua will accuse you of doing a number of things. First one will be you've been uncooperative, you've been negative, you've been aggressive in some cases, you've been unfriendly, or you've poor attitude. All those there have been mentioned to us countless times. I won't say 10 times, 20 times, I would say hundreds of times to us. On regular, by text, by phone calls, by personal messages through social media, and by email. Those words have come up constantly before sanctions have been issued. And when either company has contacted the Department of Social Protection, that's the claim to have gone in. Now, before appeals are either heard or an official end decision has been reached, people have had their money in part cut off completely. They are allowed to do that supposedly under the Social Welfare Act of 2010. In reality, a social welfare office will be told that A, someone didn't turn up, B, refused to sign a private or company contract, or C, CTEK or Turas Nua employee acted as judge, jury, deeming someone in their view uncooperative. In other words, they've contacted the Department of Social Protection and they have said that one of these here applies to this person and we would like to see them sanctioned. They've acted in judge and jury, and the Department of Social Protection many times have took the person at the word, wrote hearing evidence from the other side, from the person themselves, and immediately employed a sanction. In other words, we now have a precedent where you are guilty before innocent. The sanction will be applied before you even had an official chance to put in an appeal. They're just going to sanction it. While the actual appeal is going through, if you get one, the sanction will still apply. I don't know, it's a strange twist in the law that they're using to be able to do that. They're going to punish you before you even get an appeal put in and before it's even adjudicated on at the other end. They're going to sanction you in the meanwhile. Now, the law is the law. This is in the tendership, sorry, I keep saying tendership, but it's the tender document. Deciding officers are bound by legal provisions are required to make independent judgments on the application of the law. Now, there is a small percentage of people in Ireland which will claim they should have signed a CTEK contract. Victims deserve what they get, or in some cases what they don't get, which is their benefits. It's our opinion, to be honest, that this claim shows a lack of comprehension to a bigger picture, and the next couple of slides are going to be showing that bigger picture. The law, to be fair, has to be equally applied to everyone. There is a fundamental moral and legal long-established state for understanding that no citizen shall be coerced, threatened or blackmailed into signing anything they don't wish to, including a contract with a private company. Now, I won't go on about Irish water today, but that should apply also to that in certain conditions. It's just a reminder of the registration fees. You gain a job, they gain the money. We have had people come to us many times to have said they've gone to the CTEK or Turas Nua course, done it all, either halfway through or at the very end. They went outside the office, picked up a newspaper, applied for a job in the newspaper and got themselves a job. They went, to be polite to the staff in the various companies, went back to the companies before they finished the 52 weeks and said to them, I've got myself a job, thanks very much, all the best. As far as we know, the Turas Nua and CTEK are putting in claims for, because people have come back to us and said, CTEK have gone to the government and claimed, well, that chap was on a course with us at the time and he's gained a job. We're looking for our money because signatures means more money. They don't actually mention, they leave out that the fella got the job off his own bat. And the government doesn't bother checking up where he actually got the job from. So, but anyway, the signatures at the very start means that they are able to claim legally the following fees for 13, 26, 39, 52. If they don't get that signature, it's much harder for them to claim the money throughout the whole session. You can check that in the tender document, it's there in detail. Now that's part of the tender document. I won't bother reading out all that, but there is one section here. For the purpose of this section, the 30 hours required will be averaged over a 4-week period. We've had many people coming to us telling us that various employees from one company or the other have demanded that the people come in for 1 or 2 day full sessions. And they said, well, you're supposed to do either 30 hours over 2 weeks, or 30 hours over 3 weeks, or 30 hours over even 1 week in one particular case. It's stated in the tender document that was supplied to the companies when they applied for their contract that it's over 4 weeks. The 30 hours applies over 4 weeks. It's there in print. Mm-hmm. But that's not mentioned to the people when they come in for their first initial group session with everybody else. That's not mentioned at all. As you'll find out, there's a lot of information that's not mentioned. Did they, before they quickly got you to sign on the dotted line, did they explain any of this to you too? Next question. Tendership for tenders by the Department of Social Welfare for the provision of employment services. Now, legislation provides that advance written notification to clients is required for all activation meetings. I won't read out all that again because it's fairly lengthy, but it's basically step 1, step 2, step 3. Clients who fail to attend must be given a verbal warning. That's the fourth meeting. Cases where clients fail to attend the second activation must be notified to the department for a sanction. They must be notified to the department for a sanction and rescheduled for a third meeting. So if you don't turn up, it is the responsibility of the successful tender to confirm the department whether the client attends the third activation meeting. Now note that there. Cases where clients fail to attend a second activation must be notified to the department for consideration. That's the important bit there, for consideration. Further down in the tender document it states, however, note 2 non-attendances without good cause normally will incur a sanction. So in other words, while they're considering you for a sanction, you're actually going to apply a sanction. So before you've even had your appeals process heard as to why you didn't turn up for the second one, they're actually going to judge you guilty again and apply a sanction before the actual appeal has gone through and come to a conclusion. So again, you're guilty before innocent. We've had many people contact us over that one too. They've actually went and looked up the tender document and found that and said, hold on a minute, alarm bells went off in their head. Did they explain any of this to you also before you signed on the dotted line? Next one. This is a couple of statements from people. Hello, just wondering, could you give me some, this actually came through Facebook, could you give me some advice regarding Turas Nua? I've been working as a night port for nearly 2 years and I've been getting X, and they actually state financial amounts. To retain their privacy and their right to it, I've taken the financial amounts out. I usually do 3 nights a week, but if there's more, I do them. Turas Nua contacted me saying I had a meeting with them Monday at 9 AM. I'll be working the night before from 10:30 PM till 7 AM. and then must drop 2 kids off to school, and they expect me to go even when I asked about sleeping. That person I spoke to, he was asked to turn up at 9:15 and be ready to go at 9:30, and then do basically a couple of hour session with them, starting from scratch. He was exhausted after doing a couple of days work, one night shift after the other, and he said I couldn't do it. Now he said he was genuinely, and we had to take him at his word, he said he was genuinely tired just even dropping the kids off to school, and they wanted them to keep going. Now we did explain to them that, listen, I'll come in later in the afternoon, but they weren't accommodating them. They said, no, you have to be there at 9:15, 9:30, and if you don't turn up, well, things mightn't go well for you. Another one. Hi Jeff, for a problem at Turas Nua. Now I'm going to quickly mention that these two here are about Turas Nua, but we've had people coming to us about CTEK as well, about the same issues. I have a problem at Turas Nua. They stress me so much. Every time when I have the appointment there, I am physically sick and nervous breakdown. This person is from outside Ireland. They're quite welcome here, and fair play to them for coming here. I am in Ireland 11 years, graduated with first class honours fine arts this year, and they treat me like a stupid girl. This is a common thing. You walk in and some, not all, be fair, some of the staff are very putting people down from the very start. You ask them a question they don't like, they will quickly put you down. They stamp their authority on you. I don't know where to go or who to speak to finish this nightmare. Please, would you help me? I'm feeling as well they will, I spoke to one investigating. This is what life is, you can get in a hint where the person is coming from. This is like in Poland in the 80s when was the communism. I am disappointed with this so much because I thought Ireland is the country which respect people. That is what I thought before Turas Nua. Again, this is a very, very, very common thing we're hearing on a regular basis. Statements are there also in the report. Now, one person that I'm going to show you an image in a few seconds, and I'm going to there is a warning down the bottom that will come up. It's graphic. One person was stressed so much that she took unfortunate inaction. They were constantly phoning her 2-3 times daily. Are you coming in today? Are you coming in tomorrow? Are you going to apply for that job? Here's another job. We've shifted your appointment. Make sure you're here. If you don't turn up, we're going to cut you off. They were constantly checking on her, constantly trying to bully her into taking jobs that A, didn't economically suit her. She was working part-time and she was claiming part-time social welfare. Between the two, she came out, I'll give an example, a financial amount, around €350, €400. CTEK, in this particular case, wanted to force her into a job where she'd actually come out with far less amount and lose benefits. She couldn't afford to take the drop of the money. They harassed her so much that they drove to breaking point. The result was that she mentally broke down. I mentioned it was CTEK, it was actually Turas Nua. My mistake, it was Turas Nua. I want to make that clear. She broke down in the offices herself. And the result was this. She tried to kill herself in the office. That's her, you can see the date there. And I'm not going to leave that image up for long because it's graphic and I don't want you to have that stuck in the back of your head. But that was the end result. She got so stressed up about it. Again, we've come across many cases. People have been seriously stressed, and I'm not talking about your average Joe soap. We've had people, carpenters, plumbers, even people, yeah, even a microbiologist who we have a statement on record saying that they've been treated like dirt, absolutely like dirt, by a number of the staff on these courses. They've been put down from the very start, and when they ask any questions, ask about their legal rights, ask where the data is going to, they've discovered that they're treated and they're bullied. And if you say anything all that they don't like, don't open your mouth, we'll hit you with a sanction. At the very start of the courses that they put you on to give you this, it's called a personal progression plan. That's the first page, and I'd like to thank the person that gave me that actual form because it's very useful for people to actually see. On it is your basic information. You can't see it maybe in the small text, but just there, terms, access to car, job supports required, restrictions on time, etc. It's basically everything they want to know about your life. Here is the first part of the section. Now, I'm going to go over here so I can actually read it. The first part is, and they want you to sign it down here at the very end. I declare I will actively commit to job search and other employment or education or training facilities detailed in this personal protection plan, and agree to CTEK employment advisor. I understand my job seekers' payment may be reduced or completely stopped. Now, by you signing that, you are giving them the power to sanction you. But as we have found in many cases, people have refused to sign that, but they've still been sanctioned. So how can CTEK or Turas Nua actually legally sanction you when you haven't signed it yet in order for them to legally sanction you? It's putting the cart before the horse. It's there. It's there. We didn't make that up. It's there in their writing and their demand that you sign it. So if you don't sign that, they're still going to sanction you, but you haven't given them the legal power to actually do it. They're still going to do it anyway. And when you point that out, it doesn't matter a damn. You can appeal it, and good luck with that appeal, but while that appeal is going through, you will still be sanctioned. You haven't given them the power to do it, but it's still going to go through. The next one. Now, sorry, I should have brought that up. There it is there. I understand my job seekers payment may be reduced or stopped completely if I refuse to cooperate with CTEK in its efforts to arrange my employment training, etc., etc. Now, so there you go. Now, here's a good one. I will notify CTEK immediately of any change, including financial, in my circumstances or of my spouse, civil partner, cohabitant, dependents, and am I aware that I could be prosecuted for making false declaration or withholding information. So in other words, if you get an inheritance tomorrow, they want to know about it. If somebody leaves you money, they want to know about it. But not only to you, they want to know about your spouse, your civil partner, your habitants, or dependents, your children. If your children get any money, if you find a pot of gold tomorrow, they want to know about it. They want to know about everything about your life. And if you withhold that information, you're going to be sanctioned. This is a private company wanting to know everything about your life. I can't justify that. I can't see the main reason why a private company would want to know all this information. They're there by the government's instruction to find you a job or training or put you on a course that might find you a job eventually. Why do you want to know all this information has left myself and many of us scratching the back of my head. I have received the CTEK JobPath Client Information Pack, the one that you've seen on the screen earlier, which contains details of the service statement. That is 4 lines. Good luck trying to understand it. And again, you had about 15 to 20 minutes to read the whole pack. And if you manage to actually do that, you're a better man than I. Next one. Job search. Remember those jobs clubs around the country? They're actually now taking away your fundamental right to choose. If you want to go out and find a job tomorrow, anywhere, you should have the fundamental right to say, how am I going to go about finding a job? If there's a jobs club in your local town that has full of people in it that have experience and training, etc., you should have the right to take advantage of that. But with Seetec and Turas Nua, they come along and say, no, sorry, you're not having that. They're taking away your right to actually how you go look for a job. Underemployment, again, I won't go on about it a big time, but they're demanding that you, in some cases, give up part-time jobs, or if you go looking to take up a part-time job that might interfere with their hours of getting you on the course, they're not going to allow you to take the part-time job. Education, they might offer you a one-day course, even a few days, but try seeking a greater education outside of CTEK. No, they can't be having that. You're not there. Because you're not there, they're losing money. We've had people come to us, and you'll see a statement possibly later on. One person did their diploma and they wanted to go on to get a master's, etc. And it's a year-long full-time course. CTEK wouldn't allow them to do it. Now, this is a statement from one person, and I've covered up the name to retain their privacy. I personally know of a girl who is doing her best to better herself under very trying circumstances and was entering a year 2 of a professional course under back to education. CTEK tried to pressure her to abandon her course as she is employable, as she is. Worse, she was told she had to travel to the office to apply for jobs on their systems, even though where she lives she has scant public transport and they were totally inflexible in the appointment times, resulting in travelling being in town or for about 6 hours, she had 6 hours to travel to get there and back. Even worse, in the office she witnessed another woman in tears as she only had 1 year left of a nursing course but was being bullied into dropping it as she was already employable. Guess what? They get paid, as I understand it, based on getting people off the live register. So being a business, of course, if the choice between a cleaner in this year's figures or a nurse in 2 years' time is a commercial no-brainer, this is a scandal. The woman wanted to do her further education in nursing and was stopped. CTEK wouldn't allow it. You go take that course, you'll lose your benefits. End of story. Sorry, we want you to take a part-time or full-time job on low minimum wage and we don't want you to get further education. It's a very, very common thing. Contact Turas Nua by phone, email, letter, through the basic email address or the postal address that's on the brochure or on the website. Good luck with that because there's more information that they're not telling you. They want to know every detail of your life, including financial. Why? What's it got to do with them? A private company. I have to repeat that. I can't. Again, I'm scratching my head as regard why they want to know everything, including your wife and children. It's just nuts. Now, here's another one. This is to do with the data protection. They're going to get you to sign this also. One page is on top of the other. That's it there. Top section. I'll read it out. The Department of Social Protection, etc. agents may process all information and personal data provided to me for the purposes of the Social Welfare Act 2005, etc. Control of schemes administered on behalf of the Minister of Department of Social Protection. I understand that the information and personal data provided by me will not be disclosed otherwise in accordance with the law. Now, should I find employment while I am participating in the JobPath programme, I give my consent to CTEK or a representative of the Department of Social Welfare to contact my employer so that the details of my client can be confirmed. There's two things there. One is the data thing, and I'm going to refer to that now in a few minutes. But the other thing is this, you're giving them full permission to actually contact any employer in the future when you sign that on the dotted line. If you find a job yourself outside of CTEK, they now have the legal right to go and inquire of that employer also. The other thing that we're going to come back to now shortly is the data issue. In accordance with the law, well, as we'll show in a few seconds, or in a few minutes, the law there is to be stretched or even broken if you consider it that way. I'll quickly through that, it's just reiterating some of the points that I've actually said. This slide also, in completion, will be also available on the UnitedPeople website, also as well as the report. Now, in accordance with the law, contact your employer. Did CTEK get you the job or provide the advert? Doesn't matter to them. Part-time work, gained by your own efforts, further invasion of privacy, and if you don't capitulate, you get cut off. What they are not telling you. Now, this is good, and I'd like to thank Declan here for providing this information. I was unaware of this myself. It's a cracker. Can I mention where it came from? Declan here is going through a current legal case with, is it CTEK or the government?
CTEK,
With
the government,
The whole.
the whole.
What you're looking at on screen is part of a sworn affidavit. In it, it states, and I have it down here in text so you can see it clearer. This is a sworn affidavit signed and supplied to a court and has been passed as legal. This is from the, who is it, Department of Social
Department
Welfare?
of Social Protection.
Department of Social Protection. Having reviewed our internal penalty rate circular in light of the original decision to apply the same, it was noted that the tendership document did not provide for the
it's social welfare regulations.
social welfare regulations did not provide for the application of a penalty rate and subsequent 9-week disqualification period. In a situation where someone refused to sign the personal progress plan, the short version of that is, if you don't sign on the dotted line the contract, legally they don't have the power to cut your money, but they're doing it. That is a sworn affidavit by a representative of the...
The state
Can I
solicitors.
just ask, will they still let you go ahead with the course even
No.
if you don't sign it?
No.
They won't?
No.
So they're just telling you not to attend?
No, they're okay. I will go through that with you when I do my
Okay,
talk with you.
that's
That's
great.
best time to explain.
Yeah.
So basically, they're going to apply a disqualification to you, even in the legal apparatus, and not able to do it. And that, there's no clear cut about that. Or sorry, it is clear cut about that. They just can't do it. Now, I'm going to give you a few example figures. So there's approximately 730 towns in Ireland. It's a little bit more now. This is from the last census. 5 people of the top 70 towns alone comes to 350 people. If 350 people are cut off of benefit for not signing on the dotted line, it's 63,000 for the first week. Over the 9 weeks, it's 567,000 that the unemployed will lose for that 9 weeks overall for the 5 people in 70 towns. Even if they cut you off a minimum, and this is just 5 people, of €40 for not signing on the dotted line, the financial figure is 126,000. And that's just the top 70 towns of over the 700 for 9 week sanction. Now, the reason why I picked 70 towns is there's at least 70 towns in Ireland that the population is over 5,000. So we're a stretch of imagination. It's easy to say that within a population of 5,000, there must be at least 5 people to have questions about what they're actually asked to sign, they've refused to sign it, and they've had some sort of sanctions imposed. Even if it wasn't the full 180, in certain cases they've dropped it down to 40 or 45. And it adds up to a certain serious number. Now, if you don't sign on the dotted line, they'll kick you out, not pay you. They eventually, after the 9 weeks, ask you to come back. Will you sign on the dotted line again? No. They'll try applying another 9 weeks sanction on you. Same result, you're out of money. What happens if it's 20 people in a larger town? So you've the 70 largest towns, 20 people equals 1,400 people. You're now in the first week, 56,000. Over 9 weeks, €500,000 for the 9 weeks period of sanction. Or if it's the full amount, and this has actually been applied to a lot of people. First week, using the numbers again, it comes to $250,000. Over 9 weeks, 2,268,000. And that's just for 9 weeks if 20 people in the top 20 towns have been sanctioned. And again, they can apply that 9 weeks again and again and again and again. It's a serious amount of money, and they don't have the legal power to do it. It's stated in the document that was provided to the court, we do not have the legal powers to sanction anybody that refuses to sign on the dotted line. But they don't tell you that. They just threaten you, and if you don't give in, they sanction you. How many have caved to threats? If one person has actually refused to sign, how many other people then have been bullied and eventually caved in and signed? Probably the vast majority. It wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to say that the vast majority have probably caved due to financial pressure. Okay, now we're going back to the data. Now again, I stress, this is going to be covered briefly, but it's covered in greater detail in the UnitedPeople report. When they ask you to sign in on the computer system, this screenshot comes up in certain cases. And I'll read you the best bit. This system is the property of CTEK and it may be used by authorised users only, fair enough, subject to British and European law. Subject to British and European law. By signing in, you're now transferring your data and British law will apply to your data. They don't tell you that before you sign on the dotted line. All your system information on the system may be intercepted, monitored and audited and inspected by authorised CTEK personnel. Why do they mention subject to British and European law? We'll show you in a few minutes that the actual information, when you put it into the computer, has actually been transferred to the UK, to Kent and to London. We have the IP addresses of where it's actually going, but they haven't told, we can assume, well, let's claim the government is innocent in this case. They haven't told the government that they're actually transferring the information over to UK servers. They actually haven't actually told you another thing. By continuing, you indicate your awareness and consent to these terms. You're agreeing to British law and conditions, as well as the terms and conditions of Seetec Internet and their email policies. In a year and a half of investigation, I have not come across one person that has been explained what Seetec Internet is or what their email policies is. Now they expect you to sign in, agreeing to that, before they've even explained that, and they don't explain it. So by transferring your information to UK, you're now giving their information to the system, which will be England intercepted, monitored and audited. They don't tell you any of this is done, what process, how it's been done, mathematical algorithm or whatever, or who's even looking at it in the UK. But when you sign on the dotted line, you're legally allowed them to doing that. So again, I won't go through all that, what's their email policy. Now, in 2015, some of you might be aware, 2015, the European Court of Justice, there was a court case, it was a Romanian couple. They took a court case over the sharing of their data. The ruling was that any government department cannot share information between one department and the other without the person's consent gained. End of story. This is a final judgment. If it's to be gained, if it's to be shared, they must gain permission and they must be told where it's going. These are the words of actual judgment. Even where there is a legal basis for data sharing, it is necessary that the people know that the sharing will take place before it happens. It doesn't. The government is not telling you this very day that they are sharing information with other departments, when it's going there, who's looking at it, how it's been stored, how it's been processed, and where it might end up afterwards. None of that information has been told. But yet,
Could I just ask you, what's the name of that case that he
Barra
ECJ
case.
case?
the Barra, 2015 Barra case,
How do you spell it?
BAR. I'll give you a copy of this, you're quite welcome, and it's in there.
Okay, thanks.
It's, now this has been raised by Catherine Murphy, credit to her, and she's been given a long-winded explanation about how they can do it. But the court, and the detail is in the report, basically says that they can't do that. They simply can't. But the government now has gone one stage forward. Not only are they transferring your information between department without telling you that they shouldn't be doing this, they're now transferring it to a private company as well, outside of Ireland. And you're expected to accept this. That is a very famous case, but again, not many people know about it in the general public, but the government knows about it and many TDs know about it. But they're not mentioning it much, for obvious reason. Now, that's a BARA case. So is it really in your interest, or theirs, that you know about the Barra case? Or don't know about the Barra case? It's more in their interest that you don't know about what they're actually doing. So you should be legally able to question how your information got from the Department of Social Welfare to anybody else. Now, in Ireland, one person actually questioned it because she wanted to know how Unpost got her information. Unpost's response was, and it's there, so it refused to say how it got people's information, so it's not in the interest of the public. It's not in the public's interest, it's not in your interest to know how your information was shared. Now, if they don't state how it was shared, they're obviously not stating that they might be breaking the law. They'll cover on the backside. It would be like an admission of guilt if they actually stated how somebody got their information. Now, this is the geek stuff. Now, I'm just going to take a quick drink of water before I go any further. When you sign into a number of websites, which is on the actual CTEK or Turas Nua brochures, if you check them out, you will see that in this case CTEK.ie, and if you go onto free websites called Whois or its equivalent, you will discover that the actual location is in the UK. That's the IP address of this particular one here. Now, Hostmaster, by the way, is the person that's, the short version is the person that's running the server and looking after it, etc. And they're based in the UK. Elvis.ctek.co.uk, that's actually in their brochure. In work, ctek.ie, domain name, client.ctek.ie, all go to the UK, where conditions as to how your information is treated and passed on is far weaker than to Ireland. Ireland actually has good legal standards as regards protecting your data. It's not perfect and it could be better, but it is, by European standards, considered good. British legislation as regards data protection is weaker. Some people say far weaker. They don't actually, if you're living in the UK, they don't actually have to tell you what to do with your information or where it's going in a lot of cases. In Ireland, in some cases, they do. But once you sign into those domains where your information has been sent, you are now transferring over to British legislation, which again is far weaker. And if you wish to challenge any of this, good luck trying to challenge the British government, because I mean, what average person can take a European court case on against the British government to question whatever the hell is going on as regards getting the data, finding out how it's processed, or even trying to get that information back. And as we now know, in the last couple of months with their health system being attacked, their systems are not exactly 100% secure either. So there is more just geek stuff, IP addresses. It's just all basically UK related, and that's in the report in further detail. Now, oh, by the way, before you signed on the dotted line, they didn't tell you all this, did they? Absolutely not. And if you think the Department of Social Protection are the only ones doing it, you'd be wrong. When you're applying for your driver theory test, if you actually read between the lines, headquarters in the US States, the personal data of international candidates will be accessed from and transferred to the United States. They're not the only private company that's actually doing this. So even when you sign into the driver theory test and you agree to their conditions, you're actually agreeing to allow your data to be transferred to the USA. Good luck trying to find out where it's gone, how it's stored, who's processing, what level of access, what security, etc. You don't stand a chance. Okay, bonus matters as regards data. The BritX situation. In 2 years, 3 years' time, it's now going to stretch out a little bit longer. The laws are going to change. We don't know yet, right now, as the standards are changing, how your information, the laws regarding your data are going to be affected. We don't know if they're going to get any better or if they're going to get any worse. But one thing is for sure, we suspect they're not going to get any better. The other thing, the official tender document that was given to CTEK to apply and for Turas Nua to apply, they were supposed to supply over 3 years previous history. They were supposed to apply 3 years previous history to the government. And in each of those years, they were supposed to have an average turnover of €20 million per year. In other words, a track history in Ireland of business. They didn't. In the case of CTEK, they got the contract a year after they got set up. They weren't able to provide that information. So under the tender agreement, it's questionable whether it's actually legal. Now, the way they've actually got around it, or the government has got around it, as well, said, well, they're operating from the UK, so we'll take into account their financial details, their numbers, and we'll let them apply them to Ireland and get around the terms and conditions. Now, here's another thing. The first address when you're sending in your appeal is on Harcourt Street. It's up there on the website and it's there on the brochure. But if you actually look on the CTEK, in this particular case, CTEK website, you'll eventually find another address, 1 Stoke Street. When you send in your appeal, as I mentioned, they'll actually tell you at some stages that, sorry, it's gone to the wrong address, and then they'll provide you with the second address. Funny enough, that property there, the front of it is KPMG. Actually down here, this Irish company shares its area code with 361 other companies. That must be a hell of a building. Now, why, if they've set up that there, is open to question, and we're still questioning it. We suspect it's something to do with if you decide to try and sue them and their ability to be liable, etc., their assets or something. We're looking for answers. Quite honestly, CTEK so far is not providing them. But 361 other companies are also registered in this building. I'd love to see the inside and see where all these staff are actually working, and they must be jammed in there like sardines in a can. But when, as Declan will explain shortly, and we recommend it, when you are going through the appeals process, when you're sending your information out, all your forms, whatever that you need, 1, send it by registered post if you can afford it, and 2, send it to Harcourt Street and send a copy of it to 1 Stoke Street, because sooner or later, as some people have found out, sorry, you've sent it to the wrong address, and while they've been sanctioned and losing money, the appeals process is dragged out even further. So we're making people very much aware of that second address. It's very important that people realise that there is a second address there. Now, when it comes to George Orwell in 1984, most of us, if familiar with the book, will know the term doublespeak. Words to have double meaning. Now, I'm not going to read all of these, but I'll read out 1 or 2 of them. Detainee instead of prisoner, not quite clean instead of dirty, put to sleep instead of euthanized. When it comes to Seetec and Turas Nua, they have their own version of it. Voluntary becomes forced, invited means made to go, opportunity means compulsory, help means possible hindrance, client means possible coerced victim, job activation means press gang process, uncooperative means not willing to be bullied, social protection means no protection or harm you even more, and non-engaging means not sign the private company contract. All these here have been used against people prior to sanction. In some cases, they've actually been beneficial, but in the majority of cases, 80% of them, where these have come up, non-engaging, uncooperative, job activation, none was he wasn't willing to participate. They've been used and people have been sanctioned. They say one thing, but it means another. Sorry, I've just lost my slide. Yeah. So they knew what they were doing, but they did it anyway. Around an Oireachtas press release 2014 stated the JobPath setup would engage 1,780 job seekers to start with. To play with the employment numbers, 1,000 caseworkers will be taken on, provided by 2 outside private firms. Again, I stress, Turas Nua is part Irish owned and part UK, working linked to the company, and CTEK has been fully imported. They took on 1,000 staff initially. The high dropout rate from their staff is something serious. The staff the pressure for the lower levels is very high. It's all about getting people in, make sure their backsides are on the seats. It's about getting them the jobs, apply. Why are they not applying? If they're not applying, we're losing money, and the pressure is high. Even if you Google CTEK UK for independent assessments of what they're doing over there, you will find many reports about the high staff turnover that they have there also, and a number of the staff themselves explain the conditions of what's going on. We can state officially that even some of the staff here in Ireland, as well as in the UK, are actually training people while they actually haven't been trained themselves. People on the courses have actually discovered that the people training them are not actually legally qualified, and the courses have had to be stopped while the staff have had to go away and get retrained themselves before they can go back in and train the people that they were supposed to be working with in the first place.
No recruitment were advertising for JobPath, and I was actually approached to be I had never had paid work. I mean, I've been on disability now since '99, and I was approached by Noel Recruitment to become a JobPath recruitment officer. Never even worked myself, you know. I can tell you more about that another time.
Now, if you were to go online, this is not our document. This is from the Oireachtas Library Research Service. The short version is that is an official document about a Dáil debate. Again, that's in the report. They state themselves during the Dáil debate, the government state themselves that they knew that this would be about financial numbers. As one chap, a civil rights activist, said, contractors will be paid a mixture of feral fees, job sustainment fees, staggered basis, as to ensure the providers focus on delivering a tangible result is maintained. Basic principle is that the contract organisation gets paid commission for every job seeker, which is referred to them, and a further fee for finding that individual a job. This, in essence, converts citizens into company assets. PPS numbers on the screen, each of which will have a price tag attached. Now, I stress that person there, and fair play to him for saying it, has his own independent view. If you look up that actual document online, Contracting for Employment Services, JobPath and Context, July 2015, the government ministers themselves have stated in the Dáil they are aware of this going to happen, and it has happened. But they allowed it to happen, and it's continuing on. Now, question. Can anybody name that building? Some of you might be able to. If you can't, here's a clue. It's 18 Lower Leeson Street, Dublin 2. Keeps an eye on 158 people and any party and their activities. They keep an eye on me as well, because I'm party political activated. It's SIPO, Standards in Public Office. I've actually been in that building. It's a lovely building, and I have to say, genuinely, the staff are very friendly, very useful. I want you to keep that in mind. That serves the Dáil. It's also the office for the National Ombudsman, so if you want to keep an eye or remember that address, it's also very useful. It serves the National Ombudsman, the 158 TDs, the political parties. Supposing you have a data issue and you want to write to the Data Commission, what's his address? It's in Port Arlington, sorry. You have to write direct to Port Arlington. Now, if 4.8 million people woke up tomorrow, it won't happen, but if they did and decided to write to Port Arlington, 4.8 million people, and they wanted to write about any of the issues in this or any other issues external to the JobPath programme, where did they write to? That's the office now. That's the office. That's the office of the Data Commissioner. So the other big building, 158 people, national ombudsman and the political parties. 4.8 million people get to write to DAO. With no disrespect to Offaly, but good luck trying to find it to a stranger if you want to actually call to DAO. You'll need your Google Maps. But we want to make you aware of both addresses, if should you need them. The Ombudsman on Lower Leeson Street, number 18, and the Data Commissioner in Carnell House, Station Road, Port Arlington. Now, they do have a Dublin address, but they ask that all initial correspondence go to that little office. And we just want to make you aware that it's there. Now, I'm closing up now, but why are we doing this? I'm standing here today not as a representative of UnitedPeople. That photograph there is my child. If this process, JobPath, CTEK or Turas Nua carries on, I regard it as a thin end of the wedge. Do I stay quiet? Do I allow their information to be further abused, exported? Do I allow my information and that of my wife to be allowed for? I decided to do something about it. So myself and my colleague there and others initiated our investigation into this. It's not about right-wing or left-wing policies. I'm saying this on camera because this broadcast will actually be put on YouTube, etc. Stuff United People, stuff me, him or whoever. This is not about left-wing or right-wing policies. It's about basic rights, and we're being exploited. It's about respecting one another. It's about a right to maintain citizens' dignity. And people's dignity, as you will see in various statements in the report, have been put down big time, seriously abused. It's about protecting fundamental individual rights. It's about putting people first. Before profit, before anything else, let's look after our own basic rights. Let's look after our children. We're setting up a process today that will be an inquiry for tomorrow. The abuses that are happening right now and that have already happened and will happen the next week and the next month will be a further investigation at some stage further down the road. I've no ifs or buts about it.
Physical assaults.
Yeah, we actually have a recording of one person that was physically assaulted in one of these properties. I won't say the company name for legal reasons, but he was physically assaulted and we have the recording of it. That's now an ongoing case. And this is not a one-off case. So, again, an admission of guilt, those are my 3 children. And this is why I'm doing it personally. I am personally taking this to heart. JobPath puts a price on their head. When JobPath or CTEK Turas Nua get them in eventually when they hit 17, 18, they will have a price on their head because their backside means money for a private company. It undermines their rights. They haven't told a lot of information before they even get to sign on the dotted line. It's setting them up legally for bullying. The state has introduced a legal process in order to be able to bully people. Don't sign on the dotted line, you're sanctioned. Don't even turn up, you're sanctioned. Your right of choice between Jobs Club or JobPath, you have no choice. You're doing this, you're out, you're sanctioned. If you don't do all that, the government is going to hound you by law. They've introduced legislation in order to be able to do this. But you'll notice there it says PUSH down here, push. And this is what I'm doing and others are doing now. We're pushing against those that seek to take underhand advantage of us all. Again, it's not a left-wing, centre or right-wing initiative. It's just an opportunity, a demand that our rights be respected. Just because it's made legal doesn't make it morally right also. It really doesn't. You could have all the laws in the land and it still mightn't be right. And that's the basis which we're going forward with this. We're sharing the information out there, and if people wish to take advantage of, happy days. But what our stance is basically is that what the government is doing is not right. It may be legal, but we have to question it. What needs to be done by the people of Ireland, if they wish to further protect themselves, but not only that, protect the future generations that will eventually might come under this, is they need to stand up as United People and say to the elected, instead, do the right thing or else. Demand better citizen protection rights. Demand data protection rights, etc. If we don't, we're lost. We're a lost cause. We deserve to be treated like sheep and herded in one direction or another. And that basically is where we are today. we're getting hit today. I've personally got hit twice by them. And it's more than likely if we allow this to continue, my children will be affected too. And I'm making it, it's a personal issue with me. And that's why I'm up here today, and I suspect that's why Alice are here and other people are in this room are here today. And that's basically it. That's the end of my little speech. Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll have Damien Fagan, who's going to bring you through how to appeal against CTEK if you have any appeals.
My name's Dave. I'll give a quick rundown of myself. I was put into the JobPath program. I asked questions about what they're going to do. I'm a big believer that everyone who's on the dole should be looking for work, but not forced into something that doesn't suit them or benefit them. And the only people that can decide that is you yourselves. What's going to help you in the long run, not a state. So when I asked a bunch of questions, I realised there was a bunch of red flags. A few examples was, what happens at the end of the 52-week program and they don't have a job for you? They're thrown back onto the dole, but they still get paid. Another question is, how many people have they actually got in employment within the 52-week program? And according to the national report, it costs 12.5 million and only 309 people actually got a job. And half of that only found a job on their own. We at CTEK still claimed off them. The report will say 30% of people sent to that program will get a job compared to 15% that's on the live register, but only half of that again will find out on their own means. So they're equal. Doesn't matter. The program and being on the dole are the same thing. So I went to and I found some problems and I refused on a basic fundamental right that I believe that a private company should not have control over any right belonging to me, and I will never sign that over to any private company, regardless of what you're going to offer me in return, because my forefathers and people in the forefathers, one's descendants of Ireland, fought for that right to freedom of choice. So with that then, I got the sanctions because I refused to sign the contract. I wasn't given any opportunity of fair appeals, wasn't given an opportunity to see what against me. I went through the appeals process. All the stages, they wouldn't provide you with your rights to due process. All the stages, they will not tell you what the other side's saying about you, but yet they will make a decision on your behalf. They will dictate to you, but they will expect you to behave yourselves. So I came up with simple rules in order to deal with your rights, but not to have them use their rules against you. So the first one will be the standard guidelines. Stay calm at all times. When you lose your head, they can come after you and do something to you, but you can't do something that they abuse it to you. Where all possible, attend every meeting, respond to every letter, always willing to talk back to them, because they're not willing to give you need to be better than they are. Another one will be keep records at all stages. Write notes, do anything you can. The more information you have, the better you be prepared in dealing with these. Because, understand this, they have teams behind them, helping them out. You are technically on your own. Because no one's going to come jump to your side unless you actually go looking for it. And that's people who do that is very hard to find. Always keep records. Regardless of what it is, even if it's just a simple phone call to tell you to come down and why you're ringing me, what's the purpose of phone? Keep everything in record. The more records you have, the better you're in the position. So, first step in what I'm dealing with is this. When you go through the induction meeting, they will call you for a one-to-one interview meeting with your personal advisor. They will tell you to sign a contract. And I'm telling you here today, it's your choice if you agree to the contract or not. You decide what you want to do, because I'm not here to tell you what to do. You read it. If you're happy with the terms that you have to go with, as you've just seen previously, that's your choice. But if you're not happy, this is what you're going to have to do, because it's the only way to fight them without them coming after you in return. So remember, it's always your choice on what you do. If you choose to sign a contract or not, that is your right. And that is inscribed in the Constitution, that you have the freedom of choice to make the freedom of choice in order to decide what benefits you in your life. Step 2. When you disagree with the appeals, they're going to automatically write to the Department of Social Protection and tell them you're non-engaging in the programme. So you're going to know this in advance. So what you do is, the moment you disagree with the contract and you make that choice, you put it in writing to the Department of Social Protection. You write it up to them. Tell them outstanding you do disagree with them and you're not willing to sign that contract. And you submit it into the Department of Protection and you sign the data. But you also write it into the operator of the programme too. And then you're going to write it to the minister, because ultimately the minister is the one who's dictating this programme. Now, at the time of me doing it, it was Leo Vargar, who's now the Taoiseach. He's been fully aware of my case, but yet he's passed it on to someone else who doesn't even know what's going on. When they decide to put a reduction of payment on you, it's going to be €44. You're going to appeal that decision straight away, like you've done with the previous steps. They will give you an appeal reference number. They will tell you they will have to go through process, okay? Saying that they have thousands of cases that they have to deal with, but they will give you a case number. The quickest way to deal with it in getting it through the system is do it by email, because you get an automatic response straight away. The slowest way will be by registered mail, which they will, but you can do it both. Simply, you can register by email or you can register by registered post. I advise you to do both, because it's the same letter that you're registering in anyway. Step 2. Step 3 is you're going to be called for a meeting. The moment you lodge them letters in, you're going to be called for a meeting. They're going to classify it as an advisory meeting. The operator's going to call you down for a meeting. They're going to tell you if you do not sign the contract, your money will be shut down. Now, by law, they can't force you to do that. There is laws specifically preventing that under coercion laws. No one's allowed to force you into something that you would normally do or not do. That's law. They're going to tell you to do it. If you still are willing to stand your grounds, you say no. You have that fundamental right. So, if possible, have someone with you. When you have someone with you, they start behaving. If you're keeping record, they will start behaving, but they will still have, they'll only do it at your face. Behind the scenes, they will still keep abusing you. When you're in that meeting, they're going to tell you that the other side, the operator of the program, either CTEK or Turas Nua, has said that you are uncooperative. You have the right to ask for that evidence put in front of you so you can question it. That's under fair policy laws of this country. They will tell you, we have it, but we don't have it there. But yet they've already made a decision to shut your money down. You can demand fair rights, but they will still tell you, okay, we'll give you a day or two to abide by our decision, or your money will be shut down. That's why having someone there with you will help you, or keeping a detailed record will always help you. No matter what you do, you're always going to be ignored. And that's the worst part of this, is that they don't care about views, they care about businesses. Because it's the businesses that makes them, they don't have to deal with this. They are paying someone else to have the headache instead of doing it themselves. And that's actually what their job is to deal with the headaches of the people, and anything that the people are concerned about, they're putting it off into private hands so they don't have to deal with it. All documents and everything, you can see it clearly through the 10-year agreement. Everything's been shoved off to them, and if you actually go back and check the research library document that was in the previous session, they were fully aware. By privatising the JobPath programme, accountability was taken off them, and they have deniability when it comes to courts. So you're going to keep doing these follow-up stages. Every time they try to make you do something, you're going to put it back in writing to them. Because every time you put it in writing to them, they have to respond to you. They can't ignore you if you put it in writing, because it goes through the filing system. So when they call you for a meeting, they're going to tell you your money's going to be shut down. It's going to be shut down in the next week. When that happens, you're going to appeal that decision straight to the appeals case. The moment they give you, say they're treating you, you're going to appeal. You have the letters already proving that you've made the process, that you're willing to talk to them, but they're refused to do it to you. So you're going to rewrite back into the appeals about this decision. You're going to keep the same reference number from the appeals case, and you're going to keep it all the same, because if you don't, they're going to separate your appeals and put it on 4 or 5 different caseworkers, and not the same one's going to work at the same time. You're going to write back to the minister about this reduction. and you're going to keep writing to him, and you're going to put a timeline for him to respond to you, because your appeal is 21 days from the day they decide that your money's going to be shut down, and they say to you. So when the moment they tell you we're going to put a reduction on your money, you have 21 days from that day to put an appeals in, not from the day you receive the letter. So you're going to keep putting the appeals in again. Eventually they're going to say your whole money's going to be shut down for 9 weeks. When your money's shut down for 9 weeks, you're going to write it back to the minister about this and why we have shut your money down. But they're going to do it while you have an appeals process in. Now, under due process, they couldn't shut your money down until that appeals has been finished. And then they would have the power to shut your money down. They'll shut your money down the moment you lodge an appeal. Even if they notify them of your appeal, they will still shut your money down. So, due process, they don't care. It's first-hand experience, and I'm just giving you my experience. This is what I have seen first-hand in numerous cases. You're going to write to the minister again about your money being shut down, and then you're going to go straight to the relieving officer, because by law you're entitled to have a relieving officer because you're having an appeal in against the first reduction of your money. And by shutting down your money, they fail to follow the due process. So the relieving officer is bound to give you money. Even at the reduced rate of the 44, you're still entitled to have some money until your appeals process has been finished. The relieving officer will tell you she's not allowed to, by order of the minister, through his guidelines. Anyone that receives a reduction or a reduction in payment or a disqualification is not entitled to a relieving officer, regardless of an appeal process or not. So, again, they don't care.
Is that written in the legislation?
No, but this is what they will tell you on the ground, and in my court case, I have actually evidence of that. I have actually from the relieving officer specifically saying to me that I've been told by the minister I am not allowed to give you any money. And in that same meeting, I also hear me clearly state that I'm in the middle of an appeals process and they have no right to shut down my money until the appeals process has been completed. The minister has told me to shut down my money, and at the time, that was Leo Barker. The case was brought in against Leo Barker, but he's gone to Taoiseach. When you go dealing with your appeals, the appeals will slow you down. They will take months to deal with. There's a few key things in their own laws and regulations that you can actually get around it. While you're keeping the same reference number, every letter that you write into them, you're going to demand an oral hearing. An oral hearing has to be sped up and it has to be done in a reasonable time frame, and it has to be as close to you as possible, so you don't have to travel to them. But also, doing the appeals process through the appeal hearing gives you more of an advantage. When they don't give you an oral hearing, they decide everything behind the scenes. You don't know what's been put against you. But when you pull an oral hearing into the equation, the other side will have to come in. They will have to say their evidence in front of you, and you have a right to challenge them on that evidence. Now, according to the 10-year agreement, the deciding officers are not the ones making the evidence. It's the companies. The companies will have to come in with the Department of Social Protection and defend that evidence in front of you, which you've been denied with already. So, when you have that, you can challenge them, question them, which they have denied you previously. They will tell you you're not allowed to keep a record of this, saying it's their policies that you're not allowed to. Under fair procedures, everyone here in this country has a right to gather their own evidence. I can't tell you how you can gather your evidence. Only you can gather your evidence. You just have to produce it in a way that I can understand. Well, they will tell you you don't have that right. They will tell you that they didn't have to bring the other side forward. There have been millions of court cases that specifically states that one side is not allowed to hide behind their evidence in written form, where the other side would have to go through an oral hearing and cross-examination at all times. There's other court cases that said that the justice can never be scaled to one side over the other. It has to be equal at all stages. And through this process, it will always be scaled against you, because the Minister and the private entities have said that's the way it's to be. So again, keep it pending in all meetings, regardless of it's social welfare, regardless if it's the companies, or regardless if it's the appeals office. Always respond, always write back, and always keep calm, because they're going to egg you on so they can then pull you into there again. The calmer you are, the more you're in control, which means you know where you stand. And as you keep following these steps, you have a case being built up that you're being wrongfully unheard. You have a case that fair procedures have been denied and due process is being thrown out the window under orders of the Minister and the private companies. Now, if you get to the end of the appeals process is actually quite long. According to the Pacific records and from Leo Reichert himself, when you submit in a letter into the Department of Social Protection about the JobPath program, it goes to the operator. The operator has to investigate it. The operator, you have to go through their appeals process. Then if that doesn't work out, you have to go through the department, the intro office appeals process. That's another 3 stages to go through. When you finish that, then you have to go through the appeals office and then re-appeal the appeals decision before you have any right to go any further. That's designed to specifically prevent you from the legal right to take it to court. Under law, it says without specific special circumstances, you have to bring a case to the courts within 3 months. But that is actually not fully true. You can take a court case any time if you have all options fully done first and it's within a reasonable time frame. So if you've gone through all the practices and you still haven't been heard, you can take it to court then. So this is what happens if you have to go that far. When you've kept all your records, you've tried everything you can, you're going to go try finding a solicitor. No solicitor will take this. They don't want to take on the state because the state gives them a lot of cases. You can ask FLAC, but they can't give you proper legal advice because they won't look at. They only have 15 minutes to explain a question. You can go to see the division, but they will specifically say we can't give you legal advice. They can't even give you standard practice and procedures because that's technically giving you legal advice. So, what do? Easy. First thing you do is you draft a statement of grounding and an affidavit of grounding. There are 2 court documents that you prepare. Very easy to type up. They seem a bit complicated, but I'll explain them in the next slide. And then an ex parte document. Now, the ex parte document is a form that you hand to the judge on the day of application for, and you can get a copy of that from the Central Filing Office. When you're actually going seeking for a court, you're actually looking for a High Court traditional review. And there's a reason why you're looking for a High Court traditional review. A High Court traditional review doesn't look into the decisions that was made. It specifically has the power and skills to look in how them decisions were made. So you're not looking to revert the decision or anything. You're looking into how this has all been conducted and how this has been behaved. So that's why you go for a High Court traditional review. And then after that, you bring it in front of a judge. Let a judge decide. Because by right, you have a right to bring it in front of a judge when you've been denied rights at all stages. And all them records that I've been telling you to keep record of, there's your case already built. You just choose that to the judge. He will ask you simple questions. How long has this been going on for? You check your record, you can give the date. Who are you talking to? You check your record, you can give them the date and the person's name.
Just a little advice, of crucial importance that all records you keep, right, are mentioned in the grounding affidavit.
Yeah, I'll be going into that in the next slide when I explain what then documents.
Otherwise, it's a prerogative for the judge to look at your documents.
Yeah.
And most of the time, he tells you to fuck off.
Yeah, I'll be explaining the documents in detail, like exactly what is in each document. Okay, so in order for you to do anything, you need to know where you stand. So here is some of the very simple websites that I started looking at. First one is the Department of Section's own website on the JobPath program. On that, you will get the 10-year agreement. You'll get any press relating to the JobPath program, and you will also get the performance review for 2015, which was released in 2017.
I just mention again that what you're actually seeing on the screen here will be available and widely shared.
The second one, it's the best place to look at, the Social Welfare Appeals website. That shows you the procedure and practice of how everything goes, in how to lodge your appeal, how the appeal process works, and what they're bound to do as an appeals process. Another one is the Irish Constitution. If you don't know your rights, you don't know how to fight. So a good place is looking in the Book of Statutes, which is also the laws of the land. The legislation and court cases is all in that, in the Book of Statutes. You just need to type, if you're wanting to know about the bar case or any other case that's been taken against the minister or anyone in this court, it will be in there. Another good place is citizens' information on the social welfare. That will give you a breakdown in English terms, not legal terms, on what is your basic fundamental rights that you can understand. And then you can go back and look at the more complicated stuff. Fundamental rights under the Irish Constitution from citizens' information is another good place. It gives you an overview of what your rights are in basic English. So you don't need to worry about complications. The data protection laws. Understand that from the data protection website. It will tell you what the laws are and what they can and can't do. The bar case is on that website. They recommended it to the government that they should follow these rules. But yeah, as you've seen, they're not. So, I'll go through the documents specifically. The grounding statements. The grounding statements is just a basically outline of the acts or laws that you're bringing against your case. So I'm claiming I want to bring this case that are in violation of this right and this act and this law. And it also outlines the relief that you're looking for. I want orders from the court, remedies or any damages. So that's the thing. It's a simple 1 page, 9 out of 10 times it will be 2 pages. For a lay litigant who hasn't got representation, you'll have to go to a notes commissioner to get it signed, because you will not be able to submit that in if it's not under oath. So it means you have to swear what you're putting in your document is true. Now the next big one, this is the big heavy one that you need to do, is the affidavit grounding. That is a bigger document to produce. That affidavit of grounding is a document that outlines your case, and the incident that you're outlining, it will also show you you're highlighting it broke my right in breach of the law here at them specific points. So it's not just explaining to the judge what's been going on, you're also highlighting at them specific points what has been violated. You file them into the central office. That's in the High Court straight away. You go to the stamping office, which is up in the first building as you come in the building. As you go through the metal detectors and you come in on the side entrance on the left, the filing office is in on the left, the first building on the left, and it's on the first floor. You file your documents there, and at first, remember, it was €90 for the affidavit grounding, and it was €60 for the statement of grounding in the file. When you finish getting it stamped, you then go down to the filing office. Now this is something that it took me a while to understand, and I was sitting there for hours. When you go in, they will say 1 item, 2 items, or 3 items. They mean cases, not physical items. So if you're only dealing with one court case, that is 1 item. You can have 5 or 6 documents to file, but it's still 1 item. So you can always get the express queue. 9 out of 10 times there's a queue that you can sit in and they'll take it and deal with you there. Once you file them documents, you have to serve them to the other side. So you will have to file it to the Department of Social Protection and the appeals office and the operator. They have to have the right to know this. And then,
sorry, who's the operator then in this case?
The operator would be either Turas Nua or CTEK. As we're talking about the JobPath program, they will be the operators, and they're the only 2 companies at the moment that have the access to the program. No one else is allowed to have the program, and that's because of the conditions that they put in on the 10-year agreement. When you go to file your documents in the office to the person, ask for a copy of the ex parte document. Sorry. Ask for a form. It's a simple form that outlines basically name up exactly what's in your statement of grounding, the relief you're looking for, who the people you're filing against, and the grounds that you're bringing in. 9 out of 10 times, as far as I can remember correctly, applications for High Court Judicial Review sit on a Monday in the courts, and that starts from 11 o'clock in the morning. You go there, when they say any new business, you stand up and go, yes Judge, I would like to submit an ex parte document for a High Court Judicial Review. And then that's when the process will begin. The judge will then will talk to you then, and you just outline why you're bringing this in. Now in my case, the judge wanted the other side to attend. So he put an order on the 24th for the other side to attend. And the other side had a chance to say their side of the storyline. And unfortunately, due to the court process, I can't go too much into detail at the moment about that. But there, if you follow them steps, you will have developed your case. You've kept yourself protected, and you haven't denied the right to fair trial. You've given them an opportunity to respond, which they failed to do to you. And as long as you behave better than they are, you will always come out on top. Because when you behave like them, you're no better than they are. And you need to be better than what they are. They will deny you at all times, and they will try to deny you, because in their own social welfare office, they will say abuse, bad behaviour or misconduct is not tolerated in here, that our workers have a right to respect. And if you bypass, they will throw you out the door. But what it doesn't say is that we can do that, they can do that to us, and we can't do anything about it. Because when you put a complaint in, it's ignored. They can abuse you, they can shout at you, they can belittle you, and you have to sit there and take it. And unfortunately, to be better than they are, you do. But even that shows you you're better than they are. They're trying to make you out that you're some social welfare fraud, as Leo Carr's on campaign before we came to shop. So many social welfare frauds. The cases that I've actually been first-hand experiencing, I haven't seen that. I've seen people that are generally are looking for work, but just won't be bullied into something. Or someone who genuinely just didn't understand what was going on, and he was forced. So I don't know why they're doing this. Well, actually I do know why they do this, but that's personal opinion, not fact. So I don't know any more I can explain to you at the moment. When I'm finished my proceedings, I'll be able to give a better more on the court side of the documents, but if you follow them stages, you'll get through. You asked the question, if you refuse to sign the personal progress plan, which is technically a contract, do they still do the program? Technically, under their contract with the government, yes, they have to, but they won't, because they don't get paid. The moment you refuse to sign their contract, they can't get paid. And it is outlined in some of the court documents that I have that they couldn't do anything. So why was this done to me when I refused? Is because the private companies, the operators, wouldn't get paid for finding me a job.
So in other words, you're saying to the Department of Social Welfare that shall not refuse to do the course with CTEK?
No.
Yeah. And you've said that?
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. Okay, I understand.
Very, very clear. I'm not refusing. I'm just refusing to sign a private contract, which is in my right to do so.
Sitting in your room for an hour.
Oh yeah. Now, when you go to the appeals here, they're going to have, the appeals officer is going to come in. But technically what should happen is that there should be the Department of Social Protection and the operator that you're appealing against, either Turas Nua or CTEK. They should be there, but they won't be. You try to keep a record of what's going on, they will call the meeting off. And then they will tell you that we have the power to do so. I advise you to sit in that room for an hour, because when you walk out of that room in an hour, you've abandoned the whole hearing, because there's nothing stopping them from walking back in when you walk out and try to conduct the hearing. And I've seen that firsthand. So I advise everyone that's going down this route to sit in that room for 1 hour, because after an hour you haven't abandoned the meeting and you've given them a reasonable time frame to come in and attend the oral hearing, and they fail to do so. So that means then you have every legal right to get up and walk out the door then after the hour. I know it's pain sitting in a room for an hour, but if it means them not coming after you for even more, saying you're wasting their time, that's the best way to do it. And unfortunately, it's the only way to do it when you stand your ground, yes.
How do they get, like, the security guard to...
Well, technically, legally, they can't do that.
They can't?
They can't, because they don't own the building. You haven't done anything wrong by literally sitting there nice and quietly. You haven't done anything to abuse anyone. You haven't done anything criminality that makes you be forced out the door. It's like we sit in this room for an hour now today. People can't demand. They can ask me to leave, and that's no problem. Anyone can actually do anything. They can't force you to do anything. And as long as you haven't done anything that's damaging, the hotel has no grounds to throw you out.
Or if they put their hands on you at that stage and try to throw you out.
Well, then it's assault. It is assault. They can't use force. Now, if you've done something to them, they can use force against you. But if you're literally just sitting there like these are here, or the way you are sitting here, they can't actually do anything to you. Be polite is why the reason that the start was the guidelines. Stay calm, be polite, they're going to pick a fight with you. It's like what you tell children, they will always try to egg you on, you need to walk away. So just sit nice and calmly.
And you can bring somebody to sleep.
You can. The only people you're not allowed to bring is children. But they will also write to you in advance and telling you that if you want to bring a legal aid, you must have their consent to do so. Now, I have never seen that law that says that I must ask someone else legal consent to bring a representation from me. But they are demanding that you must ask their consent to bring someone with you, a family member. Yes.
Do you have to disclose the identity of the person that's with you?
No, you don't. Technically you don't, because they'll ask you when you're there, what's your name and what's your name. And that's when you go, that's my name is. But before that, you don't have to identify who you're bringing. You don't even have to inform them that you have to bring anyone. The only way they want is if you bring in legal, bring a solicitor with you, is when they want you to bring, you have to identify them, and they have to only do it when they give you consent. But that's wrong. And I know that's wrong because that's due process. Yeah.
Yeah, just that example you're given there where you're waiting in the room and you're waiting on someone, is that where they're refusing, the appeals officer has refused to have the presence of the CTEK or one of these companies?
No, you see, when you question the appeals office, when I was in my appeals here, I was keeping a record and they didn't like it. Now, before I went to the appeals office, I got access to the 10-year agreement and I found out that the other side were meant to be there. But there's a loophole also in that same rule that says that they only have to be there if the department requests them. Not when the appeals office requests them, when the Department of Social Protection requests them. So there was a chance that they weren't going to show up.
But they're not hearing, the appeals officer is not hearing both sides then?
Under the standard between both sides are meant to be heard because you're presenting your case and your evidence and you have to give the other side the fundamental right to respond. And as the evidence was put against you, you have the right to question the other side's evidence. So technically, yes, they do have to be there. When you request an oral hearing to present your evidence in case, the other side has to be there too. Because you're presenting your evidence, but you're also questioning their evidence. And they have to be there to present your case. And we'll present their case and why it should be evidence.
And this other side is an official from CTEK or?
It could be an official CTEK and it has to be an official from the Department of Social Protection. Because CTEK or Turas Nua are the ones that are providing all the evidence. The evidence to the deciding officer. The deciding officer is giving massive discretion to them, and they will make the decision based on what the operators produce. So the deciding officer has to be there to defend his decision for shutting them down. But CTEK or the Turas Nua has to be there to defend the evidence that gave the operator the power to shut it down. That is fair process.
Yeah.
And there's multiple court cases that actually specifically state that even cases like the appeals thing, they can act outside how the standard practice procedures as what's in court, but your fundamental rights will always have to be avoided by first. I don't think there's anything else I can give to you right now. Apart from just keep record and keep up. They're going to ignore you. They're going to belittle you and they're going to pick on you. But the more people that follow the standard practices and fight back the right way, the more they start realising they're going to get a headache. And it's easier being 50 headaches instead of being one headache. Because they're going to have to respond back to 50 people or 100 people. Because it is happening not on a 1 or 2 basis, it's happening in the 50s and 60s per month.
You mentioned Navan there recently.
Yes.
Any cases where in Navan?
I was talking to a friend who's actually in the JobPath program. 46 people have had their money shut down in the last month for failure to sign the contract.
That's 1 town out of the top 70 of population of 5,000 and over.
And that was because they just wouldn't sign the contract that gave CTEK the power to control over their dogs.
And then the opinion, do you know much about them, or you just know they haven't signed?
That was actually the grounds.
Oh, yeah.
Is because they haven't refused it. They've gone through the appeal system, and unfortunately I'm trying to track down every single one of them 46 and see how they're getting on. And I've only tracked down 10 so far, and it's now started the appeals process on it. But that might be a small town, but it is also a big town when it comes to trying to track down every single person's house and for the finding who they are, without being too nosy in exactly why they were sent to the Department of Social Protection and stuff. I know when you go to if you actually go up and down and check it on each month of the week, there was a lady there last sign up and was asking me were you on CTEK or not, to find out, keep record who wasn't on CTEK, to put them on the list to go to CTEK. She was specifically asking every person that was signing, are you at CTEK? Yes, okay, no problem. Are you at CTEK? No, okay, I'll just take a name, I'll just note your name down. Every single person that was going through the signing down. And that was at 9:30 in the morning.
And then people, 140 or whatever it was, who had their money stopped, was that their full money stopped?
That was their full, no, it was, at the start it was the full reduction. A reduction of €44 for the first 3 weeks. After that, if you still stand your grounds, they will shut your money down fully for 9 weeks. Then they have to reinstate it for 1 week, and then they can repeat the process again. But if you follow the steps I outlined, it will prevent them doing it a second time because you're in legal proceedings.
And they just add into the people being made homeless.
Yeah.
I'd like to remind you that they can't actually do that under the personal protection plan because as in your affidavit, they don't have the power to cut them.
No. Now,
we do have, I should mention, and I apologise for interrupting, we've had many reports, and some of them are in the actual statements there in the report, of people losing their money, and because of that, they have lost the roof over their head. They literally have lost the roof over their head. Either their mortgage hasn't been paid, they've run into debt, credit cards have built up the debt from those in trying to cover the money that they haven't got from the social welfare, or else the landlord hasn't been paid, etc. And they've lost the roof over their head. We haven't had one case that reported to us, we've had many.
no, in my case, and I understand the severity of it, I am classified as one of these unseen homeless people. I used to rent since I was 18. Because the landlord wanted to increase the rent, I couldn't afford it. I ended up losing my job, working there for 5.5 years. And I managed on what I could do. I don't go out drinking, I don't go partying, I stay in and try to save as much as I can just survive from week to week. And eventually I lost my house because the landlord increased the rent. So I'm classified as the unseen homeless. And if it wasn't for the people behind me that was not willing to see me live on the streets, and I got my money shut down completely, I would have been homeless. And as you've seen over the last couple of weeks, homeless people are now dying on the streets. And I'm one of them. It's only because of my loved ones behind me that was willing to take the even extra burden to help me on. I might not have been here today. And unfortunately, it could be you tomorrow, it could be you next week, it could be you, just because you kept your rights. And that is where it fundamentally boils down to. Who has a right to decide what's best for you?
And we have no right to housing. That was voted down just there the other night. Because 30% of Fianna Fáil are landlords,
36% of Fine Gael,
and 38%. That's what they said the other night in the Dáil.
it gets even worse.
38% of Fine Gael are landlords, so they're making money from all the housing shortage.
Is there any more questions on my track?
How was your case resolved if at all? Is it finished?
My case is not finished at the moment. My case is set for the 12th of October, which is in 2 weeks' time, for a hearing application of leave against the Department of Social Protection, the Appeals Office, CTEK, and the Minister of Social Protection.
Okay.
At the moment, we've gone through 2 court dates. One, I applied for my application of leave with the ex parte document on the 24th of April. And an order was made by the judge for the other side to attend on the 15th of May. as of the technical issues that have came up, and due to their technicalities and what they tried to do, and I'll give you an example of what they actually did try to prevent me from having application leave, is they actually regained me back the entire money.
Okay.
And then tried to say to the judge, because they gave me back my money on that day, I have no grounds for leave. The judge realised, and I'm just assuming, he might have realised there was something wrong, because only 3 weeks prior to that I said, the judge asked me a question, you got your money back, and I said no. And then 3 weeks after an order was made by him, I was reinstating my full money. So we're now separate hearing on the 12th of October for application leave against 4 sides against myself. And unfortunately I'm representing myself at the moment, so I'm trying to do the best I can.
And have they brought the heavyweights in? Do you know who their counsel are? Or
Yes, I have their council names, but unfortunately I can't give them out at the moment.
I was just wondering.
But I know I can give one out because it's actually within the same rules. The department, the minister and the appeals are using the state solicitors. So that's standard practices for all public bodies. CTEK are using their own private company solicitors to represent themselves in this matter. Is there anything else that I can answer?
No, I know, sorry, I was in late, I was 20 minutes later, so I get in, but just what I missed that, you probably said it in your introduction, Jeff, and the 10-year agreement, could you just explain what that is again?
The 10-year agreement is the 10-year contract that was put out to companies. It was what they offered to private companies to do this program. The 10-year agreement is the contract between the operator and the state.
Department of Social Protection.
Yeah.
This is what they're meant to be doing. This is the grounds that they have in. This is what how everything runs about. It is available from young people. It was also on the Department of Social Protection's own website. It's been there since 2013. Yeah.
Can I just mention? Many people have come to us, and I've actually personally experienced this myself. Individuals within one particular company, I'm not saying the company for legal reasons, but within one particular company, the staff within it are passing themselves off as actual staff of the social welfare office in a location, in their local location. In the tender document, it states that they are not part of the social welfare system. I can't remember what that term is that they're classified as, but what they're classified as and what they're passing, some of them are passing themselves off as, are completely different. They invite you in, they give you the spiel about social welfare and you're going to do this JobPath, etc. And some of them have given the clear impression, and even to myself, that they are attached to the social welfare department itself. They are not. They are legally separate. They're a separate legal entity.
Is there funding, Seetec and Turas Nua, is it from the Department of Social Protection or is it from central government funds? Do you know where the funding is actually coming from?
Yes, it's coming from central funds into the Department of Social Protection and then going to the private companies.
Right.
The first year it cost 12.5 million euro for the first year, and it's gone up to 25.4 million euro in the second year. So it's actually doubled in a year.
Next year it's gone up to around 45 to 60 million. They're also widening their catchment numbers that they can grab. They say that you're only supposed to be gone after when you become employed for 3 months or more. We have on record people that have actually been chased after being unemployed for 6 days. People that have been unemployed for 3 weeks. People that have actually been 65 and over, which they're not meant to chase either. And when you cite the regulations to them, don't care, we're still doing it.
Yeah. I also have these figures that we're giving about the specific monies costing are estimated figures.
Yeah.
They were debated in the Shannon last year with Leo Varadkar. They're estimated figures. The actual physical cost per person has been denied rights for us to actually see. They've classified it as commercially sensitive information for the company. So we actually do not know how much it's costing per person. But what I can tell you is that for every contract that is signed, they get up to 15% of that unknown figure just by signing the contract. So this is why the big deal is about getting that contract signed. They get 15% of their overall price per person for each contract signed. And I'm assuming none of you have done the maths. The contract, 10-year agreement says that it's 30 hours over 4 weeks. You divide that out, that's 7.5 hours a week. So the moment you hit 7.5 hours a week in employment, you're disqualified from all social welfare benefits, bar family income supplement. That's it. They don't tell you that, but under their agreement with the operators, that's what happens. 30 hours a week to disqualify you, but then 30 hours can be divided over 4 weeks. That's a 7.5 hour week work.
What that boils down to is the state saves money, the company makes money, you lose money.
And they also say that they're keeping unemployment numbers down because they're off the live register. They're in employment with CTEK and Turas Nua. So that's how unemployment is. This is where the recovery is it?
But they're not telling you any of all that.
No.
What was that sum that you said that they were invoking commercial sensitivity for?
That is for the actual physical numbers that the state is paying them person per person.
That's the company.
That's actually the company. See, the way it worked out is that the company makes a bid and the government will agree to it. So the government is not saying how much we're going to pay you. The companies are saying we're going to charge you this. That specific sum number has been denied rights to every single person since the program came live because they classify it as commercially sensitive. That is actually.
Well, it's not open to a competition. I mean, it's over. It's signed with.
Exactly, but they will still classify it as commercially sensitive.
Even though they're providing a public service.
I know.
Yeah, that was actually outlined in the 2007's annual report of the JobPath program that actually looked over 2015 to 2016. That's actually outlined in there. It is, they only give you estimated figures. And then it will say that the official figures are publicly, commercially sensitive.
So the public money that's going to a private company is commercially sensitive. You can't see what it is.
Yes.
I know in 2015 I qualified as one of the first registered data protection commissioners, and I noticed that while the information relates to kind of sharing of information, it's basically just a scam for, they can do whatever they want with the information themselves, and if they have, you know, sister companies abroad, they, you know, it's a data protection itself is an absolute scam to enable big companies to do whatever they want to do with the information themselves, and to exclude.
Okay.
You know, to control it.
Okay. Well, our data protection laws are actually quite strong. And it's basically, our data protection laws are actually quite strong because our law says that you cannot use data for any other purpose apart from what you agreed with from the person. Okay? That's what our law specifically says. If I agree for you to take my data for a specific purpose, you cannot use it for any other reason. But there's no one enforcing that law.
Yeah, and in effect, the company that controls the data can use it for whatever they like themselves. It only primarily only controls the sharing of information.
No, it doesn't. The sharing of information, listen, I agreed when I signed up for my social welfare payment.
No, it does, because I brought this up at a data protection event and they agreed with me.
Yeah. See, when I signed up for social welfare, I agreed for 3
I brought this up with a lecturer in Trinity who was giving a lecture on data protection. She agreed that it basically there's very little restriction over the processing of what they do with it themselves. Yeah.
That's because no one is watching them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the fundamental problem. But I'll think of example. When I signed up to social welfare, I agreed for them to have my data for 3 specific reasons. 1, what type of payment I will receive. 2, how much of a payment I will receive. And 3, if I'm in violation of them conditions. That's all they have the access to my data for. They cannot use it for any other purpose bar them 3 conditions. They haven't got my consent to pass it on to different departments. They haven't got my consent to process it in sensitive figures. They haven't got my consent to do nothing bar them 3 issues. And so far, my information has not only been given to private companies, it's also been transferred internationally.
Yeah.
And I wasn't told about this.
We're going to finish right here, sorry, because we only have the room till 5, but we can convene in the bar if you want to discuss with us anything further. And thank you all for coming.
We do hope that you've gained some information today that might be of use to you.
And it's all available on the site as of from 1 hour ago.
And I should also ask that if you do find the information out there which we hope you make it more available, please do share it as much as you can, because more people are aware of their rights and how they can stand. Thank you all.
Take that.
Thanks very much.
Two more reports, some of us.